It's time for the Engaged Club, the podcast for club managers and operators that strive to create loyal and connected members, guests, and customers. Here are the two guys with the club management and digital marketing advice you need to realize your club's potential. Jim Hope and Roger Kincaid.
Hope you're enjoying the 9 traits of remarkable service. This is actually, a little known fact about the Engaged Club, but this is like the touring show that Jim Hope does. He has spoken to many clubs and many conferences about the 9 traits of remarkable service. And Jim, I think it sounds really cool in podcast form. I'm Roger Kincaid. I'm the marketing and sales guy from Off Course Golf. You can find us online at offcourse.golf.
And I'm Jim Hope, the traveling showman from the Derrick Golf and Winter Club in sunny, warm Edmonton, Alberta.
I've seen you do this for a crowded room of golf professionals before, and it's a super engaging presentation when you do it that way. But I've listened to the other episodes. I really think it fits a podcast pretty well too.
Yeah, I think it works. It works pretty good. You can't see my hands moving as much, in a podcast as you do when it's live, but it is. And the beauty of this is it's really just storytelling. Each one of the traits, you just tell a story that emphasizes when that, a situation you've been in where the trait happened in a really nice form. And sometimes we talk about, when they didn't do it. But it's a lot of fun to talk about because it's something that I'm pretty passionate about and believe in. So it's easy to talk to people about it.
Well, very cool. I mean, the last trait number 5 was bend the rules sometimes. But before that, it was recognize and seize those moments of truth, which is my favorite. But what are we into for trait number 6, buddy?
Trait number 6 is going to be own and fix the problem. Don't dish that problem off to somebody else and make sure that you see it through to the end. I mean, how often have you been out, Roger, and, you've got a problem and you tell somebody about it and they'll say, well, I'll tell my manager or let me get somebody to look after that for you. And then it never happens.
Right.
And this is about the fact that, if you're in the customer service business and somebody has a problem and they present you with that problem, you see that problem to the conclusion. You don't say, well, I'll get my manager and then let them deal with it. You say, look, this is my problem. I'll talk to my manager about this, but I'll get back to you and we're going to keep working with you until we come to a conclusion that you're happy with. There's lots of examples, in my life where I've seen that happen. One of the ones where I saw it that really resonated with me was with WestJet. For our American friends, WestJet is like Southwest Airlines. And my wife and I and 2 daughters were flying to Hawaii from Calgary to Vancouver and Vancouver to Hawaii. And when we got to the Calgary airport, our flight had left for Vancouver.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. It was, we were on the 3:30 flight, but they had called about 4 weeks earlier to tell us that the 3:30 flight had changed to 2:30, and they had left a message with my 9-year-old daughter, is what they said.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They said, we left a message with, they have notes, right? They said, we left a message with somebody named Sarah. And I said, that was my 9-year-old daughter. You just told that our flight had changed. And he thought you might have emailed me with a new change time. And they go, well, we left a message. And I said, okay, well, we've got a bit of a problem. It's 3:30. My flight's already gone and I got to be on a connecting flight to Hawaii tonight. And the girl, the lady at the WestJet counter just said, okay, well, we got a problem and you don't have to leave here until we get this problem fixed. And, I stuck with her for probably about 20 minutes. And by the time it was done, we couldn't get to Vancouver in time for the flight that Friday night. There was no flight on Saturday, so we had to fly out on Sunday. But she made sure that we were on the Sunday flight. We were on the 2:30 flight. We were on the connecting flight to Hawaii on the Sunday night. And then she comes back and says, and that'll be $1,400. And I said, pardon? I said, pardon? Excuse me, pardon? And let me just get off the floor and then I'll ask that question again. And she said, yeah. And she said, sorry, but the flights to Hawaii, you've got to pay for. And I said, you need to understand something. And I said, I don't have $1,400 to pay for 4 more tickets. Like my $1,400 were into the tickets that I'm supposed to be on and the flight I'm supposed to be on right now. And she said, just leave this with me for a second. She walked away. I saw her pick up a phone. She came back in less than 2 minutes and said, sorry, this problem was our problem. I apologize. You're on the flights. There's no charge for you and your wife and your family. And we're sorry that your holiday's being delayed for 2 days. So she could have easily had said, slipped a piece of paper across the counter to me and said, here's the 800 number to our help desk.
Right.
Give them a call and they're the ones you need to talk to. But she said, no, you're staying with me until we get this problem fixed and resolved until the way that you're satisfied. And they did that. So it's no different than if you're in a restaurant and your server comes up to you and says, hey, how was dinner? And you go, well, my steak's a little tough. And so they need to own that problem. Okay, what do we need to do to make you happy? Can I cook you another steak? Can I get you another entree? What is it that you need? And it's something that you had said in a previous pod. So often a restaurant or a server might assume that they can do something to make you happy without even asking you what it might be that you want. And often what you want is less than what they're prepared to give you. So it's easier just to ask you, So, just own that problem and make sure that if whatever that fix is, that you make sure that fix gets back to the customer and don't turn it over to somebody else to do, because then when it doesn't happen, it reflects poorly on you and it reflects poorly on the club as well.
Yeah, no, that's exactly well said. I think there's something in the Disney playbook, Jim, about how it's not your fault, but it is your problem, right? And I think that's one of the first kind of, emotional points that we reach when someone presents us with a point of dissatisfaction, is that we think, okay, well, I didn't do anything wrong here. And as a server, I think it's really crucial to blow past that as quickly as possible. This had nothing to do with you, most likely anyway. If it did have something to do with you, you would know. But if this had nothing to do with you, it's not your problem. It's in fact now an opportunity for you to give a really elevated experience. Because the funny thing, Jim, is that so many of our great service stories start out with something going horribly wrong, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. And then when you fix that problem, when you do own it and you fix it, you've now built a loyal customer. You built somebody that knows that when something goes wrong, they just have to tell you about it and you're going to fix it, as opposed to something goes wrong, they're going to tell you about it and nothing's going to get done. Then they're just going to be pissed and they're never going to come back. Right. So, it's no different than my early days in the hotel business. I was running a hotel on Vancouver Island, and they were installing the big reader board sign out in front of the hotel. And this was new to me. And I said, hey, don't we need a vacancy and no vacancy sign on the bottom? And they said, no, you're never full. And I said, well, I'm full next week. And they said, well, that's great. So that when that customer walks up, that guest walks up to the front counter and says to have a room, instead of saying you're full or then not even walking in the front because you had a no vacancy sign up, your job's now to find them a room in town, so that they know that you're a one-stop shop if they need to find a room in Port Alberni. And right. I thought, that's the same thing, right? Own that room for that guest until you find them one somewhere else. So back to, trait number 6 is own and fix the problem if it happens.
Yeah. That's an interesting story, Jim. And it really brings back memories too of times when maybe you've been done the wrong way in a similar situation. We had on a recent road trip, my wife and I were on our camper van broke down. We brought it into a mechanic that came very highly recommended by a trusted family member. And they said to us, we can't get to your van in the timeline that you need. And I said, well, can you recommend a place in town? And the receptionist said, no, I've been working here for 13 years. I'm not about to, recommend another mechanic. And I thought to myself, you can't have my business. Like, that I'll be gone from here. I'm going to get this van fixed one way or another. But now you've just basically given me a horrible story about your garage. And this is going to get back to one of your regular customers too. And she might choose to change to the mechanic who does fix our van. So it was, I was just really shocked at the lack of graciousness, really, is ultimately what it came down to. But it was an opportunity for someone to say, yeah, let me help you. And instead the response was no.
Yeah, I can't believe that somebody would say that. In today's world with Google and how easy it is to find somebody else and then to write a bad review about you too, to tell that story online. Why wouldn't you? Like you say, you can't have your business anyway, so why wouldn't you recommend somebody else that could? And then they'd now be the go-to shop for you and you'd be telling a completely different story about them.
Right, exactly. Well, no, that's a great lesson, Jim. Absolutely. So trait number 6 in the 9 traits of remarkable service.
Own and fix the problem. Don't dish that problem off to somebody else. Own it until the customer in front of you is happy.
All right. Thanks so much for listening to the Engaged Club podcast. If you found this episode helpful, and we hope you did, please share it with your team members at your club and also with people inside the club business. And go ahead, give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, thanks for listening.
This has been the Engaged Club podcast with Jim Hope and Roger Kincaid. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. If you like what you heard, share it with your fellow club managers and operators. Until next time, thanks for listening.